Hi there, this is Ethan James with thehonestcarpenter.com. Today I'm going to show you how to fix a broken Adirondack chair. One of my clients owns this chair and it broke around a knot hole down here and nearly split the entire bottom rail. So what I'm going to do is add a support piece to the back of that rail with adhesive and fasteners, and it'll draw everything back together and it'll give it more support, which should last a really long time after that.
The first thing I've done here is carefully flip the chair over, and I used two Irwin quick clamps to get the rail to come back together. It had separated pretty badly, and I wanted it to be as tight as possible for the repair. You can tell it drew out most of the gap that was in the rail. There's still a little separation there. I'm not too worried about that. So now that's going to give me the opportunity to measure the size of the scab piece we want to add. I'm going to try to avoid the bolt on the right, and so we're probably going to use something about 14 inches wide and maybe about 14 inches long and maybe about 4 inches wide. And it's going to be made from the same 1x material that the Adirondack chair is, which is actually just decking board. That's what most of these chairs are made of. So I'm going to make my repair piece from the exact same material, treated lumber. I've got my piece of 5/4 treated deck board here, and I'm going to show you how to cut it. I went ahead and squared up one of the ends. I cut it square, so we have one square to start with. And normally I would just rip this on the table saw, but I know that not a lot of people have table saws. So I'm going to show you a way to do it with just a circular saw, which is a little bit more common. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mark my 14 inches with a little crow's foot, a V, and I'll go ahead and use my speed square. Draw a straight line there, and I want the piece to be 4 inches wide. All I have to do is find the 4-inch mark on my speed square, set my pencil there and kind of trap it there with my finger, and then run the rail of the speed square along the edge of the board and just create a roughly straight line there. And so this is my scab piece here. I'm going to cut it out, but the first thing I want to do is do the rip so it's easier then to follow up with the cross cut. So I clamp this board to my little work table to keep it steady. Somebody else can hold it for you if you have a second set of hands around. And I set my circular saw to cut about a 1/2 inch deeper than the material of the lumber itself. I'm just going to bring it up to the edge. I'm going to set the tooth of the blade just on the outside of my cut. And then I'm going to take my hand and very carefully grab the sole plate. I'm going to put my finger up against the edge of the board, and I'm kind of creating a rip guide out of my hand, but my hand is nowhere near the blade. And I'm just going to fire up the saw. I'm going to run straight through and cut just a little bit past our mark over here. That's the rip, and then to do the cross cut, if you want a real easy way to do it, get your speed square, set it on your stock, and push it up against the sole plate until the blade is right at the cut line, and kind of clamp it down with your hand and cut. Set the saw safely aside, and you have your scab repair piece. Got everything I'm going to use here to fasten the scab piece. I've got a premium Loctite adhesive. This bonds a lot faster than liquid nails, which makes it good for this application because I want the chair to set up pretty fast. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my utility knife and just cut off the tip. And then my caulking gun has a little prong on the end that you use to punch through a foil layer down there in the neck of the tube. Just want to jab it a bunch of times. Pull out the driving mechanism, set it, and squeeze until you see it start to flow. It can be pretty hard in the winter time. There, it's in the neck, but it's not coming out yet. So I'm gonna really use a pretty good amount, and I'm gonna lay a thick bead of it in a zigzag pattern. This zigzag pattern will kind of ensure that it's going to spread to the most surface area possible when we clamp it on. That's about it. And you take the pressure off your caulking gun.
set it aside, and I'm going to attach it with 1 5/8 exterior screws. And I'm going to use my impact driver and a couple more clamps. So I attached the new scab piece in place with 2 slightly shorter clamps, and I kept them pretty far to the outside so that I have this whole field in here to work with based on where I want to put my fasteners. So you can pre-drill if you want to. I'm using an impact driver, which is not really a great drilling tool. It's mostly just a fastening tool, but it has so much force that it can easily drive something this small. So I'm just going to go ahead and set one screw and get it initiated. And put my hand against the outside and push to counteract the force I'm delivering from the inside. And I countersunk it, so I set it below the surface of the repair piece. And that way I know the 1 5/8 is penetrating most of the 2-inch depth that we have here with the 2 pieces put together. So I'm just going to do that a few more times.
Here's the finished product of that attachment process. I left the 2 big clamps in place because I just want to give as much support to the rail while this adhesive is setting up. In the long run, the screws themselves are almost only temporary fasteners because the adhesive is going to be so strong that it's going to bond these 2 parts together very tightly, but the screws are going to help too. The screws could probably carry the entire repair themselves, but it's always good to use a combination of fasteners and adhesives. So I'm going to set this somewhere in the sun and let it dry up a little bit, and I probably won't even flip it over for a whole day just to make sure that the adhesive goes through the curing process. There's the wrap up on the Adirondack chair. You can see the split down there around the knot hole. That closed up fairly well. Still stands proud a little bit, but again, I'm not too worried. We got the replacement piece on the back, and the glue is mostly set after about 5 or 6 hours. It should be really strong sometime tomorrow, but this will be good to sit on real soon. And that's how you repair a split rail on an Adirondack chair.
For more home repair advice, visit my blog, thehonestcarpenter.com. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe below.